85% of all Americans support abortion in certain or all instances. Not one of those people is speaking to 85% of all Americans. Not one. And the person that inched the closest was Nikki Haley. And she got a roaring, thunderous applause from a Republican primary debate crowd.
Just from saying, I respect people who are pro-choice.
I was going to say the same thing, is that the one person that seems to be at least trying to drag the party towards something sane on abortion is Nikki Haley. She said that essentially, I don't judge how people vote. I'm not happy that people in some states decided to affirm abortion rights, but I don't judge them based on how they're voting. That was at least sounding like she's like, we need some sort of consensus. But you go all the way to the other end of it, where Tim Scott is like, no, ban abortion right now. I'm not going to let Californians decide their own lives. You had Chris Christie make the very coherent point that all of this time, conservatives have been yelling that it should be the states that decide on abortion, and that's why they wanted to overturn Roe. But now suddenly they're like, no, do a national ban. They were kind of all over the place. But I think, again, Christie and Haley at least sound like they hear what's happening. The rest of them seem completely tone deaf.
Okay, then
Nicole,
I have a question.
can I ask you, as a veteran of Republican campaigns when Roe versus Wade was in place, it seems that the abortion issue in those primaries was more stable, and there was a much closer set of agreed upon ways of talking about it. And so was Roe versus Wade, in effect, protecting Republican nominees and Republican candidates from this kind of exposure that we see now?
Of course. And I mean, look, they were straitjacketed because it was reprehensible to deny exceptions in cases of rape and incest and life of the mother. It was never considered by the two Republican nominees I worked for. And on the other side was Roe, which was decided by justices appointed by Democratic and Republican presidents. It was never perceived as this wackadoo thing. I worked for a very pro-life president and a very pro-life candidate for president, but it was this policy and language straitjacket where you never, ever, ever contemplated denying the exceptions, which are on the table for Republicans. A lot of the state bans eliminate the exceptions for life of mother.
Kentucky.
Those are 93% opposition. I mean, Republicans have put themselves on the other side of 93% of all Americans, and they wonder why they lost everything yesterday.
In terms of their political skill at talking about it, though, I think you're right, though, that they actually have no idea because those straitjackets were there. They have no idea how to talk about it, and so they're this proverbial dog catching the car. Now they have no idea what to do with it, no idea how to talk about it, and the position that the party has found itself at, and that their state legislators are imposing in state after state after state, is so wildly unpopular that this backlash is going to be knocking them back for a long time. It's going to be a long time before they figure out how to do it.
I was going to say the public sees through these lies. I mean, the whole lie was, these justices who are going onto the court are saying super precedent, we're not going to do anything right away. They said it under oath. When Judge Kavanaugh wasn't crying, he was repeating under oath, we're not going to change anything right away on this precedent. Settled law, super precedent.
Susan Collins said, yep, that's why
we'll take you at your word. So that's a game in Washington. You don't need a law degree to understand what's going on with the lies in your own body. And I think people see through it, and they see through it in Kansas and Ohio. And so then when to echo Joy's point that came up in the debate, when people say, oh, well, even if we do this, it'll still be at the local level. So you'll have a second say at this. No, that was another lie. And we've seen that. And so Ohio, again, what happened yesterday is Ohio's voters in a state that's gone for Trump twice said, no thanks. We reject this entire Republican MAGA approach. And we want Roe-level protections enshrined in the state constitution for good, right? And that's a big breakthrough, and that's what they are on the heels about.
And it's a plus 20 issue. It's 20% more popular than Biden. So Biden's dealing with 20% on top of wherever he is, if you take that across the state.
And by the way, they're holding this debate in the state where Ron DeSantis, who I think was a non-entity, again, in this debate, he barely made a dent. But, he has pushed through in the dead of night. I mean, he signed it at midnight. That's how proud he was of his six-week abortion ban, which is
a total ban.
And is also hurting the governor of Iowa, who has endorsed him, who also has a 6-week ban.
Right.
It's dragging both of their numbers down, so he didn't know how to address it.
Look what it did to Glenn Youngkin yesterday.
Look what it did to Glenn Youngkin yesterday. They're not learning from what the voters are telling them, so you know that they understand that it's bad because they keep telling one new big lie, which is that Democrats want abortion up until birth, which is not a thing. There is no such such thing as abortion up until birth. That does not exist. But they all say it. They keep repeating it. I think even Chris Christie said it.
He did.
I don't like
He
the
did.
fact that people
In
have
New
abortion up
Jersey,
to birth.
Chris Christie says it's happening in New Jersey every day.
That's infanticide. No one gets to 9 months pregnant. I have had 3 humans. You do not get to 9 months pregnant and then decide, you know what? I've changed
not
my
going
mind.
with
I don't
this.
want to be pregnant. That is absurd. It's actually libelous to women. It makes women sound stupid and craven and evil. And the idea that you think that women are having abortions at 9 months means you don't understand science, you don't understand women's bodies, you don't understand physiology,
And you think your
don't understand
voters are
abortion.
stupid.
And you think your voters are stupid.
I do think.